Okay, once more onto the deathmatch we go. Current reigning champion is the, there you go, living statue, the metal, I've just got to find the right one, the metal variant with its armour and jagged metal. It's had a good run, so far. So what we're going to try up against, I thought we'd go back to one we've tried before, the one that almost beat the Raptor. It is the Flesh Stalker, which is only the one we're using that's a large rather than an XL, but it had a credible run versus the Raptor, partly because it was able to shut down its attack so it couldn't attack, and also its ability to basically just generate damage by moving through rather than actually trying to hit. So versus the living statue, it's got initiative of D2, D6, so it's going to be variable as to whether the living statue is going to have a good chance to throw it. It's only going to do damage on sixes though, because of it's got a low damage. It's only got a damage of 3 unless something else changes that. But it does double damage on 6. And actually, that's been a debate we've been having on the comments on the hierarchy. Is I've got to be careful with the living statue because I have made a mistake in the past. What I've been trying to do throughout all of this is state that effectively if an enemy ignores defense on 6, that is a crit. So anything that is immune to crits ignores that. But also they've got to be careful of the living statue. When it does roll that 6, it ignores defense, and it's instead of the normal damage. So so I've got to be careful about how I do that and don't get it wrong again. I don't think it's made a materially significant difference so far, but let's make sure we get it right. Flesh Stalker isn't immune to crits anyway, but it does have this ability if it rolls a 6 to do double damage. Nobody particularly knows because Living Statue is not immune to crits either. So, but I felt let's clear that up because I have made a mistake in the past over that. So the other thing is, the Flesh Stalker's got in its hand, it's got quite a lot of health. It's got almost as much health as a Living Statue. It's got a defense of 4 versus the Living Statue's defense of 5. So the Living Statue's not going to be doing much damage to it until it picks it up and throws it. And then you've got the Tools of Terror, which can be quite variable, but that some of these really did nudge it in the Flesh Stalker's favour versus the Raptor. Not quite enough. And then finally, as I say, we've got this Shadow Shift. So it's going to do it at least once each turn because if it does its attack, but also if it takes too much damage back from the Living Statue, it will shift, and if it moves through the Raptor, it does a load of damage that ignores defense and armor. So it's going to get around the metal variant. Anyway, a lot of discussion. Am I going to call it? Is the Flesh Stalker going to take out the Living Statue? You know what? I am going to say. Let's think. I think it's got a really good chance. I'm going to say yeah. I think yes. I think the Flesh Stalker is going to defeat the Living Statue. So let's see how it goes. We start off 2d6 initiative for the Flesh Stalker. This turn is 4. Okay, because it's quite low. So at the start of each turn, draw 1 Tools of Terror. The Tools of Terror for the Flesh Stalker this time is Time Splicer. This turn, the Flesh Stalker activates at its initiative level as normal, then also activates again at each different initiative level shown on the individual dice. Oh wow, so it's going to go on 4, 3 and 1. Okay, right then. So on initiative 4, it will move to attack the Living Statue. It will then basically do its 4 attacks. It will need 6s to do any damage. Oh, we got 2 6s, so does 6 damage, which is right. So each one does 6. So 2 left after defense, so 4 damage done to the living statue. How much of the armor? Ignores that. 1. So the living statue takes 3 damage from that first set of attacks. Lost all the little ones. Oh, the little ones gone. 5s everywhere. There we go. So 3 damage to the living statue. That was the end of that attack. So it now shadow shifts. So to shadow shift, Flesh Stalker bounces 3 times, basically like dynamite, swapping with any model to which it moves. And if it does that, it does d6 wounds, ignoring defense and armor. So, well, as usual, we'll have like a 1 over there in that corner. So 7 is there. 4 is there. 5 is there. So it doesn't go through the statue, so it doesn't do its d6 damage. That was initiative 4. Initiative 3, Flesh Stalker goes again, moves in, attacks, 4 attacks, once again, only 6 damage, so yeah, none of those. But it then tries to shadow shift 3 times. 4 to there, 5 to there, and then 5 to there. So that was 3. Then 2, the living statue goes. Turning around, put in the right direction. 4 dice, hitting on 5 or more. Not a single one hits. Okay. Initiative 1, the Flesh Stalker goes again. So 4 dice to attack, no 6s, so again no hit them. Does it shadow shift? So 1 is actually into. So there we go, they swap places, so d6 damage ignoring defense and armor. 2. So 2 damage, which goes to 5, which is for every 5 full damage a hero does to his enemy while in an adjacent space after armor, place of bleeding. So now the Flesh Stalker is bleeding. So we've taken 5 on the living statue and a bleeding on the Flesh Stalker. Nope, now I'll just turn that off so we don't get any more of those. Sorry about that. Is that the turn done? I think that is the turn done. That is the turn done. So shuffle this back in and let's think about doing that separately. Let's do this first before we roll initiative so we know what we're doing. So yeah, next turn, Tool of Terror this time is Slave Pulse. Any hero that starts its activation adjacent to a Flesh Stalker this turn must pass a Spirit 6 or more to avoid the resist of the mind control of the Slave Pulse or lose their activation. So the Flesh Stalker's activation is on 6, so it goes first, 4 attacks, 1 6, so 2 damage, 2 armor saves, both save. Then tries to basically do its shadow shift. So first one is a 1 back into the corner, and then 4 can't, and then 2 can't, so it stays where it is. Well, that's interesting because the Slave Pulse then doesn't work because the living statue is no longer adjacent to the Flesh Stalker. So on the living statue's turn, moves forward, 4 dice attack. There's a 5, which basically does 1 damage. 1 damage? Yeah, 1 damage. Right, that was that turn. That was round 2. Round 3. Shuffle up again. Shock Prod. At the end of its move this turn, the Flesh Stalker attacks all adjacent heroes. Each time a hero takes 1 or more wounds from the Flesh Stalker this turn, they also gain a stunned marker. And that might be helpful if they can stack them up. So, yeah, what initiative is the Flesh Stalker? The Flesh Stalker is initiative 9. 4 attacks. 3 6s this time. So that is going to be each 6 is 2 damage. So that is 6 damage to save, and it'll also be 3 stunned markers. Oh, it's gone over there. Not a single one is saved by armor, so 6 damage to the living statue. So 5 of that will trigger another bleed on the Flesh Stalker. 3 stunned. 3 stunned on the living statue. Oh, it was the end of its move. So at the end of a move, it also, well, yeah, it doesn't really matter. It attacks all adjacent as normal. So then, how do we move with this shadow shift? 8 is there. It swaps with the living statue once more. So D6 ignoring armor and defense to the living statue. Another 2. Not enough to trigger the next jagged metal. Right. So that was the Flesh Stalker. So yeah, now the living statue retaliates, loses 1 stunned. He says, does it lose stunned automatically? Is there a handy one for stunned? No, don't have a handy one for stunned, but I think it loses 1 automatically each turn. So, loses a stunned. You know what? I'm going to pause this and check that, because having made 1 mistake with living statue, let's not make another mistake with stunned. I'll be right back. Alright, and we return. And this time I've just quickly grabbed the Blasted Waste Adventure book, because on the back, like many of these books, it has the specials in it, including stunned. I was nearly right, my memory wasn't entirely wrong, but you roll at the start of activation, and on a 4 or more you take 1 away. So let's see, does it take away a stun? It does, so we are back down to 2 stunned. Number of stun doesn't actually matter, it's just 1 defense whilst it has it. So yeah, then it will attack the Flesh Stalker. Oh, wow, that is a good attack off the living statue. So 3 5s, each of those 5s does 1 damage. So that's 1, 2, 3. So we are going to trigger a shadow shift in a moment. So 1, 2, 3. But it also got a 6, so it is going to try it and throw it. It had a ludicrous initiative this time, so it's only going to. Right, so it goes to normal damage. The hero must roll a d6 for each grab hit dice. Okay. So it didn't, so he's not grabbed and thrown. Yeah, so it's not grabbed and thrown. Shadow shift occurs. 5, can't go 5. 7. And then 3, can't go 3. So it ends its move there, off the shadow shift. Okay, so that was round 3. Round 4. Total trade this time is Shock Prod again. So I can possibly put more stuns on. Initiative this turn is 3, so that's much better chance of being picked up and thrown. So yeah, moves forward. Attacks, 4 dice attack. Even with the stun, it's still only going to wound on 6, but we will be doing an additional one. Doesn't get a single one, so none of the attacks land. So no more stuns from that. Then the Shadow Shift. 2, moves to there. 4. Swap places. So we'll do d6 damage, ignoring defense and armor. 2, which puts it on 5, like that, and gives it a stunned back. And then the last shadow shift move, swaps us back around again. D6 ignoring is just 1. So we did 1 from that, 2 from that is 3. It's not enough to trigger the jagged metal, but it is another stunned. Okay, so now it's the living statue. 4 dice attack. Not a single one hits. I think that was its turn if it was going to throw it. Right, so round 5. Oh, I forgot to see if it got rid of a stunned. Does it get rid of a stunned? It doesn't. So what do we got? We have a ghillie saw. +1 combat, so 5 dice. While adjacent to the Flesh Stalker this turn, any hero who hit rolls of 1 cause d6 wounds to the hero, ignoring defense. Okay. So what initiative is the Flesh Stalker on this turn? It's on 12. So 5 dice attack. 2 6s. So they will do 6 each against defense 3 each, so that is 6 in total. 6 armor rolls. Wow, 4 saves, so 2 damage. 2 damage to the living statue. That was the attack roll. Now we see about the shadow shift. We move 7. Go to there. 1 swaps places. D6. 1. Okay, that's fine. 1. Still not triggered. I've done 3 so far. Last move. 1. Can't move that way. Okay, so it stops. And then the living statue. Does it get rid of the stun? It does. Gets rid of a stun. So it will then try and attack. So 4 dice, noting that if it rolls a 1, it's going to get hurt by the ghillie saw. It does roll a 1, so it takes d6 that ignores defense. So it takes 1 that ignores defense. Okay. Armor saves it. Anyway, so it doesn't take any damage from the ghillie saw. It will try and pick up the Flesh Stalker, who has to roll a 6 basically to get picked up. Otherwise, no, not picked up. Okay. That was that. That was round 5. Was that round 6? I'd say at the moment it's definitely going the Flesh Stalker's way. We've got the ghillie saw again. So initiative is 6. 5 dice attack. 1 6 doing 3 damage. So 3 to roll armor. 1 armor save, so 2. And then we see about move bouncing. 4, 5, 7. Doesn't go through the living statue. So living statue's turn. 4 dice attack. None hits. Well, there is a 1, so it takes d6 ignoring defense. It takes 5 ignoring defense. Armor. Oops. Dice on the floor. We'll get to that later. Saves 2, so it takes 3. Which is enough to trigger a bleeding. on 13 effective there, but we're on 24 effective there. Oh, and did we get rid of a stunned? We did. Okay, that was round 6, was it? Round 7? Top one is Harvesting Syringe. Again, don't think I've had this one. Whenever the Flesh Stalker shadow shifts into a space for a hero this turn, the hero takes peril dice instead of d6, and the Flesh Stalker heals peril dice. Wow. That could get dangerous. What's the initiative this turn? 8. Okay, so 4 dice hitting on 6s. No, not a single hit. Tries to move the shadow shift. 5 does swap. So, peril dice. Peril dice to the living statue. 3, ignoring armour and defence. So, like that. And then peril dice healed. Heals 3. Next, shadow shift is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's another swap. So, another peril dice to the statue, which is 4. So that will trigger a bleeding. And then peril dice to heal. It can't get less than 1 anyway. So there we go, fully healed. But it has taken 12 from bleeding. Meanwhile, the living statue is on 31 out of 33, so it's nearly dead. Living statue's turn. Does it get rid of a stun? Does. 4 dice attack. All miss. So, round 7, give them a shuffle, and on top is a Varasix Blade. At the end of the mover's turn, the Flesh Stalker attacks all adjacent heroes, so that's just as normal. Anytime a hero that takes 1 or more wounds this turn, they gain a bleeding marker. I'm not entirely sure how metal bleeds, but it's not immune to bleeding. So, yeah. And as soon as it takes that bleeding, it's going to fall over dead, because another 3 on that is enough to kill it. So, Flesh Stalker's initiative is 7. Flesh Stalker's 4 attacks, Reaper 6. There was 1 6, so I don't think we need to bother. I suppose it could armour, could defend against it all. So 1 hit does 3 damage because of the defence. And the statue needs to save all of this on armour to avoid death. Nope, doesn't save any of it. There we go! Statue down, statue down. So we have a new champion. Second time round for it coming out. The underdog is only a large enemy, it's not an extra large, but we have a new victor in the Flesh Stalker. And I hope I've got all these rules right. There was a lot of rules there, but I hope I've got them all right this time. So yeah, I mean, if anyone wants to see who's going to take on the Flesh Stalker and something different, feel free to comment. Otherwise, I'll try and think of something else for the Flesh Stalker next week.